Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Trust and Believe. I'm so excited today because today I'm going to enhance your ability to trust and believe in believing you can do anything you put your mind to. And I know I talk about that a lot, but my guest today is going to literally break down barriers and slay your life so that when you finish listening to this, you know you have the power to succeed. Today, Santia Deck is a history-making professional female football player and social media influencer with over 2 million loyal followers and engaged followers. A former track and field collegiate athlete, Santia recently made history by being offered the highest paid contract in women's football history. Santia is a published author, a fitness model, TV personality, social media consultant, public speaker, and a TV host. She also maintains her fitness trainer certification and offers a variety of services to celebrity clients and her wide-ranging community of online supporters. Most recently, Santia added successful startup CEO to her long list of wins with the launch of Tronus, where she made history a second time by becoming the first female athlete to own a shoe company. The innovative footwear brand has been experiencing impressive growth since its launch in the summer of 2020. Despite the pandemic, Santia led Tronus to record sales, celebrity praise, and a dedicated base of customers. The company continues to expand. Santia Maria Deck was born in Greenville, South Carolina, and raised in Houston, Texas. Now she resides in Atlanta, Georgia. She travels often, and Santia has been running full speed after her dream of success since childhood. Now she works tirelessly to inspire and empower young people, women, and others with her determination and passion, and she's going to do that for you today. Get ready to trust and believe.
Somebody say hell yeah!
No?
What's up?
He's better than Oprah.
Come on, y'all!
This is Shaun T, and it's time to trust and believe. Santia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I think that the first thing I want to say before I get into your business, I want to say congratulations on your most recent proposal. You guys have to see this video. She was taking a picture with her, I guess, boyfriend, then became her fiance very quickly. How was that experience?
I had all types of emotions. Like, first of all, he surprised me, and I know everything. Like, I'm a Scorpio, so I can sense when something's about to happen, all of that. So he took me to the one place where I was going to be distracted the whole time, which was a football game. And the Falcons were actually doing good, which is rare. So he actually planned the proposal when we got there. Like, he went and said, I'm going to get food, and then disappeared for like 30 minutes. And he planned out the whole little thing that you guys saw. So it was beautiful. I was just overwhelmed.
I mean, it was so cool. I remember seeing it like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. All right. I want to motivate the hell out of people today because I know when I met you, we were in a group speaking, but I was just like, I need this person in my ear. Like, I need to know how it all began. So kind of take me back to the beginning, because really I think that there are a lot of people right now out there in the very beginning of their journey, and they feel like the dream is so far away and they get discouraged. So take me back and take me on a process. And if I interrupt you, it's just because I really want to know something important that I don't want to miss out on.
No, you're good. You're good. Okay, so do you want to know or start from the beginning of like sports or trauma?
Yeah, let's start at sports, because I think that sports is a great foundation, even though there are a lot of people out there who aren't athletes or don't understand it. I do believe that being an athlete is cross-promoting to people who love academics or love science because of the drive you need to have.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So I started my sports career when I was 4 years old, which a lot of people don't know. So my first sport was actually tennis. And then from tennis, I went into track and field. So before I even got to track and field, we were playing tennis, but me and my twin brother were actually like too strong because we were like our whole goal in our heads was to like hit the ball over the fence. And the instructor eventually, like after a year, came to my mom and said, "So I think your kid should get into like maybe softball or baseball because they're like not understanding the concept of like not hitting the ball over the fence." So then from there, we ended up getting into track and field because I was obsessed with like cheetahs when I was younger. And I kept telling my mom, "I want to be a cheetah. I want to be a cheetah." And she was like, "So you can't be a cheetah, but I can put you in track and field when you're old enough." And so when I turned 7, we got into track and field, and that honestly, the rest was history. That became like my life.
I will tell you this before you move on. I have a tattoo on my back. A part of the tattoo is a cheetah. So I'm really excited.
So you know.
Only because I ran track too. So we can
Okay,
talk
so
about that in a little bit.
Yeah, so you
But
know.
keep going.
So I eventually, so again, I was running track, doing my thing, and then I was turning 13. And I remember my sister was about to get married at that time. And we were like getting fitted for dresses. And the seamstress, she came up to my mom and was like, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but your daughter, one side of her like body is longer than the other." And my mom was like, "No, I don't know that." And so she ended up taking me to like, the doctor or whatever. And I was diagnosed with scoliosis. The doctor, like, he made this huge scene. Like, he was freaking out. Like, if this was my daughter, I would take her out of sports. I would like rush her into surgery because like if she falls or gets hit the wrong way, she could be paralyzed and just all these crazy things while I'm in the room, right? So I'm over here like, I'm sitting right here and I'm freaking out. My mom is like trying to keep me calm, but she's freaking out too. And eventually my mom was like, "Well, let me have a conversation with my daughter. We'll talk about it. And then we'll come back about the surgery." Of course, I was devastated because track was literally like my entire existence at that point. I was like trying to be like FloJo and Michael Johnson. I had all these idols and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to be in the Olympics," and all these great aspirations. And my mom was like, "So I just feel like God has taken you this far. And if you were going to have issues, you would have had issues before now. So I'm just gonna trust in God and allow Him to just carry you through, and whatever happens, happens." And she of course made sure like I wasn't hurting or in pain, and she did her research. But she eventually said, "No, we're not doing it." And then I went on to run track in college. I played rugby, I played football, so I've been able to play all the roughest, toughest sports in the world or whatever, and I haven't had any issues.
I have to cut you off because I just need to know this for all of my track and field. Like, what events did you run?
So I ran the 100, 200, 4x1, and sometimes a 4x4, but I always tried to hide because I hated it. So
I was like,
they could
you
find
better
me.
say a 400. A 400 better be in there somewhere. You can't live in America. You can't live in America, run track, be a high-level track athlete, and never have been a part of the 4x4.
It's impossible. It's literally impossible.
Because I actually base a lot of I talk about in my book, a chapter called The Last 70 Meters. And it's really because I was a 400-meter hurdler. And the last 70 meters, it's like when the piano hits your back, you come around that last turn, you feel like you have momentum, and then you're like, I see the finish line, and everything is going to trash, basically.
Muck on your back. Yep.
Yep, exactly. And so, but I also feel like that symbolizes life, life when things start to get rough, kind of like when you found out you had scoliosis. It's like, okay, this is on my back, but how do I persevere and move through, which is really cool. So keep going.
So I was diagnosed with scoliosis, and then, we decided to keep going forward. Graduated from college, and then I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next because I had told myself if I got injured one more time, because I kept getting injured in college. I'll just put that out there. I was consistently injured. So when I graduated, I was like, okay, I really, really want to try to make the USA team. And so I found like an actual Olympic coach, but I was just like, college track versus trying to go pro is just like the biggest leap ever in life, and it's almost impossible to be honest. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna try this, but if I get injured, I'm done. And lo and behold, like 6 months into training, I got injured. And I was just like, okay, I'm hanging up the cleats, I'm done. And so after that, I healed and all that stuff. But I was like, man, I really still want to be an athlete. Like, I'm not ready to just be done. And I was driving one day and I saw a flag football tryout, like, sign. And I was like, okay, cool. Like all my brothers played football. They are running backs. I was out there doing everything that they were doing, including I tried to play pee wee football. My mom let me go to a practice because she believed in equality. Like, okay, if she wants to do this, I'm gonna let her. And I went to a practice, and I was actually doing good. The coach actually said I was doing better than all the boys. But
Yes.
on one of the plays, I got hit in my chest. And my mom was like, okay, no, we're not doing that. So that was that. So then I still was able to go to camps and train with my brother. And again, having a twin brother, I was always chasing a rabbit. So I felt like if I ever caught my brother, I was probably doing pretty well in life, right? Anyway, so I was like, okay, so I'm kind of prepared to play football, even though I never like actually played. And so I went to the practice, and honestly, the coach was like, "So, how long have you been playing football?" And I was like, "I never played." And the rest is history. Then I got on social media. I went viral several times for football. Then I got recruited by the USA rugby team to go to a tryout and all these different things. All these things transpired through me, honestly, playing sports. So my foundation has always been sports. I never like change that as far as like my brand. And I know I had a lot of people when I first started becoming an influencer try to tell me, oh, you should do this, or maybe you should show a little bit more skin. Maybe you should like just trying to pull me in all these crazy directions. But I always said, no, like I want to be myself. And if people love it, they love it. If they don't, they don't. They don't have to follow me. And I also thought about mental health because I feel like when you have to always put on this mask every single day because you have to be this and perform every day because you got popular or famous for doing something that's not really who you are, but it was cool at the time. I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with that type of stress. And so I just stuck to my guns and now I'm here. That's a long version.
No, I love the long version, and congratulations for sticking to your guns. And just so you know, being a fitness guru for so many years and having found success in that arena and have really, just like you, inspired people who love that and need their life change and really was looking to, kind of like you said, Michael Johnson and Flojo and, Usain Bolt, like all these people who you look at and you're like, oh my gosh, like these people are so amazing. They're top at what they do. And for me, I'm top at what I do in fitness. But people also put you in that box of, well, this is who you are and this is what I want to see. And
Right.
I'm just like, I am really good at motivating the heck out of people to continue to push toward their goals. But it's not just who I am. Like, that's not it. Just like Michael Johnson has a whole entire life outside. People always, like you said, put people in a box. So congratulations for sticking to what it is that you want to do and branching yourself out. I think that's really amazing. But I do have some very poignant questions about sports and football and rugby. Not necessarily the sport in general, but what are some of the obstacles you had to overcome within that sport outside of the injuries? Like, because you mentioned mental health, and I think in order to have mental health awareness from within, you had to have in some way gone through something that made you be like, this is crazy. Like, I need to find my way.
I actually had two like situations that I feel like were pillars in my life that really shook me and made me realize like I have to protect my mental health more. So the first one was training to make the Olympic team for rugby. I was kind of thrown into rugby, honestly. Like I kept getting tagged on all these videos about you should try this sport, you'll be so good, blah blah blah. But I never played a contact sport in my life, and I was just like, okay, I guess I can try. And so eventually, like I found a coach and a team and everything, and I went to a practice, and I went to maybe 3 or 4 practices before my coach was like, "So yeah, we're just gonna push you on the Olympic route. Like you're fast enough, you're agile enough. We'll teach you everything, blah blah blah." And I was like, okay, fine. And so literally I was traveling the world I went to New Zealand, I went to Australia, I went to all these different places to like really learn the sport at the highest level. And I was not taking care of my body the way that I should have because I would come back from like New Zealand and then you're supposed to have rest, right? And have like maybe a few days off, but I would go right back into training. And then I'd hop back on the airplane. And eventually my doctor was like, so you're slowly burning out. So I feel like you need to like rest and like not travel for a while. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll take some time down. I maybe took like a day or two, and then I was back on the airplane. And eventually, like, my body was starting to shut down, and I didn't really know it, but I was just pushing myself past my limits and everything because I really want to be an Olympian. That was my ultimate goal in life, still is. Eventually, like, I got a slight injury because my coach at the time was pushing me to stay in the game, even though I was telling her, like, I need to get out, I'm tired. She kept saying, no, 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 just keep. And I was scoring. I scored, I think, twice in a row, and she was like, keep going. Like, what am I gonna take you out? And I'm like, I'm dying, literally. And so eventually, like, I think it was my groin at the time or something got kind of tweaked, and then by the end of the game, like, I couldn't even stand on this leg, on my right leg. And so I was fighting an injury. So I ended up, like, kind of doing some rehab, doing taking CBD, doing just like all the natural things that I could possibly do to keep going. Even though my doctor was in the background, like, hey, sit down, like, you're doing too much. I was just like, whatever, like, no, I'm gonna keep going. I made it to the final, like, round, I would say, and I had the chance to perform in front of the USA coach. By the time I got there, I was so tired and just done. My body was like over it. That walking felt like I was running a mile. And I remember calling my mom and I was like, Mom, I don't know what's happening to me. I was freaking out. And my mom was like freaking out because she couldn't get to me. And she was like, okay, well, just push through, just do what you can. I was like, Mom, I can't do anything. But no, me being me, I just tried. I played in the little game or whatever that I was doing, but I was doing so bad. It literally looked like I wasn't even an athlete. So I had the worst performance ever. He didn't even get to see, like, who I really was as an athlete. And I ended up getting a call, and he said, or the coach at that time was like, yeah, sorry, we're not interested. And that hit me like a ton of bricks because I'm like, man, I spent this whole year training and putting my body through the ringer and losing friends, losing relationships because I was always gone, just to be told that I can't make it. I didn't make the team. It had nothing to do with, like, what I could really do, like, athletically. So hearing that news, I ended up going into a small depression. Well, a pretty big depression, actually. And I wasn't eating. I wasn't communicating with anybody. My mom was like, Santia, like, I know it hurts, but you're either gonna lay down and die or you're gonna keep fighting for what it is you want. And I know this might hurt, this might be an obstacle, but God has bigger and better plans for you. You just have to see it. So give it to God. And I literally that night, I just literally got on my knees and I probably prayed for, like, I don't know how long, but I was just crying my soul out. And I just was like, God, I don't know who I am. I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I'm just confused, but I trust you. I'm going to give this burden to you. And just whatever is meant to be will be, right? The next morning I woke up, I felt just like a whole different person. And I finally accepted it. And then 2 months later, I got the call about football contracts. And I always tell people that moment was almost like, I don't know if you've seen this meme. It was like this little meme that was going around some years ago, but it was like a little kid that had a tiny bear, like, behind his back, and then there was this figure of God, and he had a huge bear behind his back, and the kid was like, "But God, this is all I have," not knowing that God has something way bigger and better than what he thought. And that kind of described that moment, and that was the first time I realized, like, man, I can finally understand a little bit more about how and why people go through depression because I never understood that. So that was kind of my first taste. And then, if I'm being honest and transparent, the beginning of this year was probably the worst that I've ever experienced and I still am injured. I have an ACL and meniscus tear. I moved into my new place and I caught COVID like the next day. And then when I finally got over COVID, I went to my football practice. And just a quick backstory: I haven't been able to play football because of COVID. When I was offered that contract, unfortunately, COVID happened, and the league ended up not being able to continue because it just wasn't. It was hard for anybody to do anything during that time. So I haven't played it since then, and so this is going to be the first time that I was able to actually play football. So I was super excited this year. I was like, okay, yes, I can finally play. Blah blah blah. And so I finally got to go to practice after having COVID. I missed like 3 different practices and we were getting into pads, right? And so during practice, unfortunately, I ended up tearing my ACL. It was raining, it was cold, and I had literally all the bells and whistles that morning telling me to not go. But I just was like, man, no, I'm about to go. I miss all these practices, blah, blah, blah. And so when I finally was able to leave practice, it hit me that I was not going to be able to play sports for probably a very long time. And I just went into like a black hole, if I'm being honest. And luckily my mom was, she was there. My family was really supportive or whatever, but I was just super lost. I was losing sponsorships, I was losing endorsement deals, and things were just going super, super, super like downhill really quickly. And I wasn't able to grasp like what was happening yet. And I was still trying to accept where I was. That lasted for about, I would say about 3 months until I was in LA. And I remember I was supposed to be playing in like a celebrity flag football game for Super Bowl. I was injured, so I couldn't, but I still went. And that's probably the worst idea ever because it was a tease for me. But I remember like I was supposed to go to some events and I was like, Mom, I can't do it. Like, I don't honestly really want to be here. And she was like, where, Ellie? I said, no, like here, like life. And she was like, my mom, you know how a mom would react to that or whatever. So we were just both literally in LA crying our eyes out together. And she was like, you just have to just once again give it to God. There's something better. There's something come out. I said, Mom, no, it's not. Like my whole, I feel like I'm about to cry. Sorry.
It's okay. This is the free space.
I was fighting that. And, I had to really dig in some places that I didn't even know existed as far as strength. That's when I realized, like, as much as I preach about finding identity outside of being an athlete, am I really doing that? Because I'm this, like, depressed to where, like, I am thinking things that I never thought because I can't do what I love, but I have Tronus, I have all these other businesses. But I said, who really is Santia? Like, who's Santia Deck? Not Track Baby, not Queen of Abs, not this person, blah, blah, blah. But who is Santia? And I realized in that moment, like, I don't even really know who that is. I'm so used to having to perform and do and be this athlete and be this trainer, be this, be that. And I kept telling my mom, like, you don't understand. It's not just that I can't play. Like, this is literally who I am at this point in my life. And so that's when I realized, like, okay, after praying, give it to God and really just like letting it go. And I finally said, okay, this is what it is. I can't fight through an ACL. My knee's literally done for right now. So I have to really sit down. God is telling me to sit down and be still for a reason. And I did not know why. I was like fighting it in every way possible. Everybody was trying to be, give me all this positive energy. I was just like, no. Like, I'm just going to sit in this. But when I finally decided to just, okay, I accept it, I'm going to move forward, I'm going to figure out why God has me sitting down, my life changed for the better. I did not realize that sometimes our dreams and our goals is pure comedy to God because he's like, okay, you think that's what you're about to do in life, but I really got this for you. And that was the moment that kind of played out in my life up until now, but I was able to find out who I really dig deep into myself, heal from pain, trauma, relationships, friendships, blah, 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 whatever. I was able to travel the world and actually enjoy it. This was the first summer in my entire life since I was 4 years old that I had a free summer to not be an athlete. So being able to experience life outside of sports was like, whoa, like, this is what people be doing in the summer. Like, what have I been doing with my life? I met my fiance. And that's a whole nother story, and that's gonna be another tearjerker that we probably don't got a lot of time to go into. But
I will say this first, because I'll give you a second, because I feel like you want to breathe a little bit. But I will say it's kind of a common denominator with people who are high achievers and really have a dedicated focus to something that it does take over our lives, but it's taken over our lives in a really great way that we are getting incredible fulfillment. Like, you get incredible fulfillment from being an athlete. Like, are you kidding me? Like, when I was a professional dancer or even in my fitness career, and I just had surgery this last year. And prior to surgery, my cortisol was like through the roof. I was like 20% body fat. And I was just like, I don't look like I'm 20% body fat. And then I had shoulder surgery. And by being taken out of what it is that I do, it like completely changed my life. Through struggle comes strength. It's kind of like when we're kids and we have like now and later's or Laffy Tappies or a popsicle or whatever. You have this incredible rush of sugar and then you have the crash. It's like, why am I going through something really amazing? And then like I experienced these issues, and I just commend you on continuing to push forward, because the dark place that you're in is a really dark, dark, dark place. I actually put up a post this morning for We the Culture, and I was saying how as a kid, a Black male, it was, I was in church and prayer was great. And when 2 and 3 are gathered together, it was great. But like getting therapy was the win, because I was able to hear myself talk and heal through my words and my experiences. So congratulations on pushing through that.
Thank you. And therapy definitely plays a big role. I will say that. That I actually ended up going to therapy, not for that, but for just like relationships and like really trying to detox all of that and really get to the root of like, okay, why do I keep attracting these type of people in my life? And when I did that, oh my gosh, like I met my fiance like a few months later. So I feel like a big part of it came definitely from therapy, but understanding and digging deep into who you are and digging into those places that you're sometimes afraid to like look under the rock at. I feel like it's important to like get into the other side of who you are, the healed version, so that you can be in a position to attract what you want and have what you want and give yourself to the right person. Because sometimes even you're like, we feel like I'm giving myself, but sometimes we can't even really accept like a good person because of that.
Everything you went through and knowing how everyone on the outside perceives you, and they're like, oh, this person, and they don't really see beneath the surface. Let's talk about how you were able to not only continue to build your businesses, but the strength that came through building your businesses, being an advocate for young people, for women. And I think the other thing is giving yourself to so many people, especially with the online community, because now your reach is like insurmountable. So how do you continue to build these businesses? And to be quite honest, it's amazing for me and people out there, and motivational for them to hear like, yo, like the success is still climbing. So how were you able to like push through and build businesses?
For sure, having a good team. If I didn't have my team, if I didn't have my mom, if I didn't have, my sisters, my family, my friends, it honestly wouldn't be possible. Because when I first started building, Tronus and Queen of Abs and all the other things that I have, I thought I could do it on my own. And I thought it could just be me and my mom forever until it started to grow. And I'm like, okay, we can't carry this by ourselves anymore. It was very hard to do that, because I feel like it's almost like when you have a baby and you don't want nobody to hold your baby. But then it's like, okay, I do have to do other things. So at some point I got to put the,
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it was for me until I realized like, okay, I found some people I can trust. When that happened, I was like, man, like I can see growth finally. So I would say make sure that you have a really, really good team around you, and have people that can see your vision, but can see like way, way, way farther than even what you can see. Because I feel like when you have people that I feel like they like to be a part of what you're doing. It's like, oh, it's cool. We're doing this thing. We're building a shoe company, but they're not really in it with you, like in the mud with you. That can sometimes do more damage than a lot of things, to be honest. And I had to find and go through a lot of people to really find my ride or dies that's gonna, be here and stick it out when things are getting sticky and ugly. And that process is not fun, because you think that you have like some really good people in your corner, just to find out that they're just like, oh, this is happening, I'm out. Like, bye.
Yeah.
And then it's like, really? You just gonna leave us at this moment? And that's what we experienced like when we first started in 2020, because everybody knows 2020 was a mess. It was a mess for everybody in business. And we saw true colors. That's what I would say. And even now, there's certain things that that have happened throughout this journey with the shoe company. And I'm like, oh, wow, that person of all people, cool. So like you really appreciate the people that have like are in your corner and whatnot. But my team is everything.
Tell everyone more about the shoe company, because this is like so lit. If you saw my closet, you would understand why I'm obsessed.
We got to get you a pair. We got to make that happen ASAP.
Yes.
The shoe company came into existence was I was being a brand ambassador for another shoe company, probably 2018. And I was selling the heck out of their shoes, like just really doing my thing. And eventually the designer was like, hey, have you ever thought about a signature line under our shoe company? And I was like, no, but I'm a sneakerhead. So like what person would say no to that? He was like, okay, cool. So if you had a shoe, what would you want it to look like? And I'm like, well, I love Balenciagas and I love Jordans. So if there's a way that we can mesh those two, that would be the perfect shoe. And he was like, okay, cool. So he did a mock-up of it. When he showed it to me, I was like, oh wow, this is exactly what I pictured in my mind. And we added maybe a few different things and we put the mock-up out and it went crazy on Instagram. Like people were like, oh, I want to buy it now. Is it available? I'm like, this is just an idea. So hold on, hold your horses.
Like, chill out.
And so we went back to the drawing board. He was like, okay, so let's do more than one color. Let's just do like maybe 8 or 9, right? And I said, cool. So we want this color, this color, this color. And he mocked those up. And then I posted it on LinkedIn and it went viral on LinkedIn. And that's when I was like, okay, we have something. And then my mom came to the table. She's also the CEO of Tronus. And she was like, yeah, we have to do a shoe company. And I was like, what? A shoe company? I was like, Mom, we got to go against Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. She was like, but you have the following, you have the engagement. We're going to make sure we did market research. We made sure that I had sneakerheads following me. But I was still scared because I'm like, okay, but what if they don't like the shoe? Like, honestly, that was one of my biggest fears. Like, what if they think the shoe's ugly? And eventually, you know, I prayed on it. And I just remember hearing like, so you can either like do this and what if it does, if it fails, you can at least say, hey, I tried to create a shoe company, which I think is still pretty cool. But if it doesn't fail, oh my gosh, you're gonna be solidifying generational wealth, opening up doors for the next generation, showing little girls that literally anything is possible, even getting into the shoe industry. And I just was like, you know what, that sounds a little bit better. So I'm just gonna take this leap of faith, and now we're here.
That is incredible. Tell me like other things you're doing to really empower the youth. Is there anything you're doing to like for outreach for youth, or are you kind of just using your platform to model greatness?
Definitely with Tronus, like we've done a lot with charity. We've given back to different schools. We have interns from some smaller Black colleges so that they can come in and really learn, you know, what's happening in the shoe industry. I'm also about to actually start a foundation pretty soon. If I can get to it this year has been crazy. But I really want to empower the female athlete because I feel like we have such a long road to go to get to like, I feel like the equality that we deserve as female athletes. Mm-hmm. So what I'm doing currently, and I'm doing it for male and female athletes, but I definitely want to spend a lot more time with the female athletes. I'm teaching them how to really monetize their platforms better because there's a lot of athletes that still don't understand like the power that they have being on TV every Saturday or Sunday, and also being a college athlete with the following. They don't really understand like, man, there's so many doors that can open because of that. I'm also going to start doing some mentoring, which I'm super excited about. I love the youth. So honestly, anything that I can do to empower them and inspire them, I'm doing. I also speak a lot at different schools. I do career days because I just want to, do what I can because I feel like, and I know it sounds so cliche, but the youth is the future. So I feel like we need to be pouring into them as much as we possibly can so that we can have a bright future.
That's incredible. Speaking of bright futures, can you tell me the story about your fiance? Because I'm like, this is like nosy Shaun tea, and I want everybody to go like follow you for many things. But I just want everyone to see this video of your engagement. It was incredible.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can dig into that. So we met on Bumble. So we met on a dating app.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I know people are like against that, but I actually got on there.
I met my husband on a dating app, so don't even try.
Everybody is now. My
it's
mom,
fine.
My twin brother, my friends. So anyways, I was just like, okay, everybody's meeting their person on these dating apps, so let me just get on here. And let me tell you, the first few months was rough. I was like, this is so chaotic. This is trifling. This is everything. Like, I was so stressed on these dating apps. And I kept getting banned because people thought I was like a fake account. So it was just like so much mess happening. And then I would get DMs on Instagram like, is this really you? And then I'll be like, do I really want to say yes? Cause no, it was just a lot happening at that time. So I got off, but something kept telling me like, just try again. Just try one more time. If it doesn't work, just get off. And in my head, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a month. And if it's a trifling and all that extra stuff, like I'm gonna not get on here for like a year, right? And I was literally like stone cold, like I'm doing that. And so I got on, and once again it was a lot. But then I was swiping one day because I was bored, and I came across my fiance's profile, and I was like, I don't know what it was, but something just stopped me in my track. And I looked at his profile and I was like, oh, wow, he sounds super intentional. Like he's not on here just trying to have a good time. He's not on here looking for blah, 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 fling. He's like looking for a wife, looking to build a future with someone. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to just say hi. I think like 2 days went by and I was thinking about his profile. Out of all the people that I swiped on, I was thinking about him the most. And I was like, why is his profile on my mind? It was making me mad, actually, because I'm like, Cynthia, you're tripping. I literally had got on there because I think by that time 4 days had passed, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm literally about to like just delete my profile. I was going to delete my profile, and literally before I could delete it, his message came in, and he was like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing? I saw your profile. I think you're amazing. I don't know if you're into NFTs, but I have this conference that I think you would like maybe want to be a part of." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not here to do business." And I was like, "I'm good. Have a nice day." And he was like, "Oh, wow. I don't even know who you are." But he said, "I was just honestly just trying to be nice." And then I realized, I was like, "Oh, wow. Maybe I am being like an a-hole." And I said, "So you really don't know who I am?" And he was like, "No, am I supposed to?" I was like, "Oh, yes. He doesn't know who I am." So I was so happy. So then after that, like the rest was history pretty much. So we got off, and he was in San Diego at a conference. He's in tech. And we got on the phone and we talked for like 3 hours. Like the first time we ever talked. And I was like, man, he is so interesting. Like he's different than what I've ever talked to. Because I'm going to be honest, because I'm an athlete, I normally talk to athletes, and ladies, just don't do it. Athletes are just not it. I'm just be real with you.
Unless they were an athlete
exactly,
like me.
Unless that's it. But honestly, the first day, and then so we talked on the phone, and then maybe like a week later, he came back and we went on our first date. And when I walked in and I saw him, I was like, I don't know why, but he looks peaceful. Like I don't know, it's weird. And we sat down and we started talking, and I was like, and I remember like I just interrupted him and I was like, I'm not trying to be weird, but you make me feel calm. And he was like, oh, cool, I'm happy. But I don't think he understood what that meant to me, because when I tell you my past, oh my God, my past relationships were just like the spawns of Satan. All of them was just stressful and just bad energy. And I always felt like a bit of like anxiousness with like the people that I dated, even when I first met them, but I tried to just ignore it, like, oh, maybe I'm just nervous. But it's really like, I just feel like your intuition is telling you like, this is not your person. But with him, it was just like the whole night. And he was just a gentleman. He was kind. And I had my ACL injury going on. So I was kind of like a little embarrassed because I was kind of like limping a little bit. And he was like, oh, do you want me to rub your leg? Like, I feel like I can heal you. And I was like, what? You just trying to fill up on me?
Like, come on.
He was like, no, I'm not even trying to do none of that. He said, I really like, I learned a lot about Chinese medicine and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And then from there, we never missed a day of seeing each other. 7 months later, he proposed.
I love a good love story. That is amazing. I'm so happy. And I know that because this podcast is called Trust and Believe. I just love when people who have found success also have a story of overcoming triumph. Not because I feel like people should, but I think it almost adds like this incredible amount of color to their life. And it also adds an incredible amount of hope to people out there who may be hiding what they're going through because they just don't feel like they can make it outside of this space. And so One was about mental health. Two was about overcoming, obviously, many obstacles. Being a woman out there, I think there's a lot of progress we need for women in sports and progress we need for women in general. And just unfortunately, we have people in the world who just don't believe in equality for all. And I think people like you are out there, especially helping young Black girls see that there's a way. You know, I compare you to somebody like Serena Williams and Allison Felix and, you know, all of these women who are like, no, like, I'm different. And I know I'm different. And part of the reason why I'm different is because I'm a Black woman, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. And so thank you for that. And with that said, I always ask my guests, what does trust and believe mean to them? So can you answer that for me?
Trust and believe, to me, is almost having the faith of a mustard seed. So even though you can't see it growing, you can't see it like, you know, you don't see the vines, you don't see all the things happening that create a mustard seed. And it's tiny, but when you throw it out there or when it's put wherever it's put, you have to trust that it's gonna grow, even though you can't really see it. And that's honestly what that means to me, is just having blind faith that what's meant to be will be. And what's going to happen is going to happen. And if it's not, it's because something else is coming and it's going to be way bigger and better than what you can believe and think.
Can I just tell you, and I mean this, and if any of my other guests are listening, I love y'all, but that was the best definition of trust and believe that I've ever gotten.
I'm so excited.
I mean, you're an athlete. You're competitive. Of course you're excited. Yes. Virtual high five. But thank you so much, Santia, for just coming on the show, being raw, transparent. Can you tell people where to find you and especially where to get those sneakers? I mean, hello.
Okay, so you can find me at, we'll have two websites, but santiadeck.com and also queenofabs.com. You can find Tronus, my sneakers, at tronusofficial.com, TRONUS official.com. And then my Instagram is trackbaby001 everywhere else.
We just really appreciate you taking the time today and sharing your story. And this was especially great for me because for those of you out there who don't know, both of us are a part of Reader Culture with Meta, and we inspire Black people from all over, educating people of all races that, you know, there are Black people out there that are really trying to take you to the next level of who you are. And always trust and believe in who you are.